I first met the Hizmet people at an iftar at our church. And I sat across from a family and was talking to a man I'd never met before. And I couldn't believe his story. I was like, why have I never heard about this? Why do I not know about this? And one thing led to another, and I got invited to their home for dinner, and I got to know them more, and I wanted to learn more about it. And so I started studying it, and the more I found out about it, the more I just really couldn't believe what I was hearing. I really couldn't believe what was happening in Turkey and why I had never heard about it in the United States. Why didn't I know this was happening? My deep commitment to education. I found that many of the people being persecuted in this genocide that's occurring to the Hizmet people are educators. And so that's where I jumped into the research for my dissertation. And I started collecting oral histories. I started collecting stories. But most importantly, what I uncovered really, really hit a raw nerve inside of me. Because it's overwhelming to me as a Christian person to know that this persecution is happening. And I've had dinner with the people who have been persecuted. And once I've gotten to know them, I consider them part of my family, part of my extended family. And I just couldn't not have that story be told. And that's really what started the whole commitment to really working hard as an advocate for the organization AST, Advocates of Silence Turkey. Invited me to teach a 6-week English class, and that has turned into 4 years every Saturday and Sunday morning. I teach an online English class to our Turkish friends. Some are still in Turkey, some are refugees abroad, and that has been very meaningful to me. And I just feel like it's really important that I continue to support them in any way I can. And so that's where it's all part of being part of the global family, being part of the world, and knowing that when an injustice occurs in one part of the body, that the whole body suffers. The Unmuted exhibit came out of efforts that were organized by Aslıhan and a group of her volunteers and friends, a dedicated group in New Jersey, that event in New Jersey, and that I was invited to be the MC. And as I walked through there, again, I just was overwhelmed with emotion when I saw all of these items. I mean, everything you looked at was precious. It was precious to somebody's family member. It was a precious thing. And I remember I was standing there, and a woman came up to me, and she didn't speak English very well. And as everybody pretty much knows, who knows me, I don't speak any Turkish, or I speak very little Turkish. And it's kind of a funny thing because I'm very close to the Turkish community, but I haven't mastered Turkish yet. Anyway, I'm standing there, and this beautiful woman comes up, and she points to one of the frames, and she says, "That belonged to my brother. That was my brother's." And I looked at her, and I was just bawling. I was crying on the inside. What could I say to her? The only thing I could do was to hug her. And I hugged her, and I hugged her tight. And she leaned into it to let her know that I cared, that her brother had been killed. But what I walked away with, besides the emotion, was this can't stay in the Turkish community. This information, this experience can't stay in the Turkish community. And so I said to Aslıhan and her friends, I said, we have to bring this to Kansas City. We have to bring this out into the community. Americans need to know about this. Every single one of those artifacts is precious. Every single one of those artifacts has a family and touches other people. Like I knew him. I knew him personally. That means something. That means something to somebody. And then when the people came to see it, they were overwhelmed. There was one woman from our church, and I know her well. I saw her there and I was like, what's wrong, you know? She literally was sitting in a chair, kind of off to the side by herself, and she was crying. And I thought maybe something had happened to her. You know, I'm like, oh, you know, so I went up to talk to her. She said, it's just too much. It's too much to bear. Each one of those things belonged to a human person who was tortured or who drowned or who died in the process. We cannot stand by and do nothing. There is no do nothing option. There's only the do something option. And we each can only contribute what we can do. What can I do? I can speak up. I can teach a class. It costs me nothing. I can give money. I've got money. I can give some money. I can give my time. Each one of us has to do our part to make a difference.